Welcome back to another episode of Cultureminds, the online conversation series where I interview special guests who are here to share their story about mental health with the hopes of ending the stigma and normalising conversations. Today's guest is amazing. She is doing so much for the Black culture. She is a producer and she is just so inspiring. Please welcome Tobi.
Hey.
Hello. How could I not have you on this channel? Thank you so much for coming. You look amazing.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling good today. I feel quite relaxed actually. Yeah.
That's good. We're in a peaceful environment, in a safe space, so I'm happy that you feel relaxed. How have you been? What's been new for you and what you're doing within the culture and within the Black community?
It's been a lot of new things have happened this year, I feel like. I've started like 2 new jobs this year, both within like a week of each other, so that's been quite hectic. Just kind of doing more things with Black Ticket Project and outside of London as well, so kind of working with young people in Bristol and Sheffield, Manchester, trying to move people around to different cities as well, so it's been quite hectic, but good. A lot of it is like testing and experimenting with like different ways of working. So yeah, it's cool.
Wow, so you're doing a lot of things. You're doing a lot of things. So for those who are not aware, what is it exactly that you do, especially for the youth and within the Black culture and the Black community?
So I'm a theatre producer, so I produce theatre productions, artist development work, events, all of that kind of stuff. But I also run an initiative called Black Ticket Project, which is all about trying to get more Black working class young people into the arts, primarily starting with theatre because that's my sector. But we've done kind of visuals before, events, all of that kind of stuff. And so I work with organisations to kind of arrange for young people to go and see work. But I also work with those organisations and thinking about how to make their institutions more accessible, welcoming, comfortable, and how to, I guess, like change the way that the organisations operate in terms of how they're working with young people, how they're accessing young people, why they want to access young people in the first place. So I think getting young people to like see the work is kind of like the bare minimum. The real work is, I guess, challenging the way that organisations think and wanting to work with them closely to just think a little bit more about the way that they operate.
Wow, that sounds so inspiring. And how long have you been doing this for?
Black Ticket Project is a baby, so it's about a year old.
Oh, wow.
It's a little one. But I've been working in theatre since I was 16, so I kind of have seen lots of really great changes, but I've also seen like how stagnant it's been as well, and some of the issues that have come up in terms of just working with young people.
Wow. So speaking of young people, in the media, it's been known that young people are suffering a lot more with mental health difficulties. Now, in relation to that then, do you feel that the government is doing enough to support young people in relation to understanding mental health and just understanding emotions and what they go through in life?
I think it's really evident that not enough is happening for young people to be able to kind of access support that they need in lots of different ways as well and for lots of different reasons. We've seen that in the cuts to kind of youth services. There are less and less people that are able to support young people. In my time alone, the amount of redundancies I've seen from youth workers and support workers that have been working really closely with very specific communities have been decreasing, their resources have been decreasing, the infrastructure around that has been decreasing. And it just means that there are more and more young people that are suffering from depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, all of these kind of things, and they don't know where to go, though they might not have anywhere to go. And it also means that other organisations that aren't necessarily trained to be youth workers or support workers are kind of filling those gaps. And so with the cuts to education as well, with the infrastructures that are existing, you kind of see other people that are working, I don't know, as like arts practitioners or stuff like that, that are taken on the role of a support worker essentially, even though they aren't trained to do those jobs, because that is just the place that some young people are going to, and that's where they can get that support. And so there's a lot of pressure on a very kind of small group of people to that really care about young people and really want to help them to actually do the work that they need to do alongside their actual job. So it's a really difficult time for young people at the moment, and I think we're seeing that in just the increase in mental health issues that a lot of young people are having at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like you touched upon, different people in different roles now having to adapt this new role to be a supportive figure in order to help children with their mental well-being. And I feel that it's when we talk about mental health more and when we normalise these conversations, it just helps to educate people just a bit more about things that they may not know about mental health, and just to understand that, you know, it's okay to talk about mental health, it's okay to maybe feel vulnerable, and just to kind of generate more conversations about this so people don't suffer in silence and feel comfortable with sharing their story or speaking with other people. So yeah, I definitely agree with what you said. So we're here to speak about mental health, and we're going to get a bit deeper. We're going to get to know you a bit more from let's say a different side to what we know you as, and the amazing producer that you are, and the doors that you've opened for the Black community. So in relation to doing this, I'm going to ask you, have you ever experienced any difficulties with your mental health?
Yeah, definitely. I think most people, like everyone has mental health.
Yeah, I love that. That's my favourite saying. Everyone has mental health.
Yeah,
definitely.
I feel like more people need to understand that, and the way that all of our mental health kind of fluctuates, depending on lots of different things. But yeah, I've had issues with anxiety, depression, things that I've kind of aided in, like body image issues in particular, and they've all kind of started at different points in my life as well, or they've all been triggered by different things. And so yeah, it's interesting kind of seeing I guess me as a teenager that was in retrospect definitely dealing with anxiety and depression, but not having the language to kind of put a name to how I was feeling. And like the ramifications of that now that I'm an adult, kind of 10 years later, how is that affecting the way that I now operate? So yeah, I've definitely struggled with lots of different types of mental health issues as well.
Oh wow! So, would you say then it's based on reflection, on you reflecting back on your life? You're able to understand, okay, at this point of time I was going through this, maybe because of this, and at this point of time it was this, maybe because of this.
Yeah, I think so. I just think as we get older and there's just there are more conversations now happening, I think, around mental health, especially like with my peers as well. I think there were people around me that were also dealing with things, and we just didn't talk about it because we weren't necessarily in an environment that could encourage those conversations. And so at school it was just not a thing to talk about. So everyone was kind of just dealing silently with their own problems, or putting up a face and stuff like that, because that's just the environment that happens. And at home as well, like, it wasn't necessarily the place to kind of talk about how I'm feeling beyond I feel really sad today and I don't know why. Like, I think it's that as well, like not being able to articulate why I feel a certain way. And I think it's only now in retrospect that I can kind of piece things together and say, okay, well, this was happening at the time, and that's definitely aided in what I felt like this, or the development of my anxiety, or the development of social anxiety and depression and things like that. But at the time I was just like, I
didn't understand.
I'm a growing individual. Like, I didn't have the language to kind of put a name to the way that I was feeling at the time.
Yeah, and it's amazing you say that, because language is so important, and as we develop and as we grow older, our language and our vocabulary becomes more wider and more broadened, and we learn new things, we learn new words, we learn new names of how we can label a certain emotion and why we feel that certain emotion. So when you were going through your difficulties in the past, how did you manage these difficulties within that moment?
I think at the time, I don't think I did manage them. I think I just sort of kind of like compartmentalized them in like a specific part of my brain and just went about my business, because it was like, I've still got to do my exams, like I still have to do all these things, even though these issues will affect those things. And again, because there weren't really places to go to like talk to. When I was growing up, I was on the kind of cusp of when like connections were closing and all of that kind of stuff.
They were quite old connections.
Connections were like, it was the place though that a lot of people independently went to for lots of different reasons. And so it just felt like I don't think I really did like deal with any of those things. I think I just kind of shut them away and sort of said, well, I don't understand what this thing is and I don't have time to like figure it out, so I'm just gonna leave that there.
So do you feel then that, are they resurfacing now, or do you feel that you're able to manage how you're feeling now?
I think now I'm just more aware of them, and I think that in itself kind of leads me into how I then manage them and deal with them in my workplace, in my personal life. Like I've had times where at work I'm able to disclose that and say like, these are the things that I'm dealing with, so it means that I just can't come to work today. And that's really important. I couldn't do that at school. Like, do you know what I mean?
Today I'm dealing with
do you know what I mean? Dealing with some things, like, and also like I feel like people don't listen to young people, like they don't trust young people when they talk about how they're feeling. So even if I probably was to disclose how I felt at that time in my school, I don't think I would have been taken seriously. That's another fear, I guess, as well, of like opening up. And so I think now, just because I'm more aware of exactly like what it is and how it affects me on a day-to-day basis, how it affects certain things that I can and cannot do, or my routines, it means that I'm able to be more open and honest with other people just about what I need in order to feel like comfortable and safe and to kind of protect my mental health, and what kind of help I might need as well from other people.
So from that's very confident and very strong in, you know, being able to tell someone, okay, right now I don't feel comfortable, or I don't feel confident, or I don't feel myself in this particular situation, so this is what I'm going to recommend for me to do, and this is what's going to help me. So what would you then say to someone who may be struggling to open up or just even speak about how they're feeling? What tips would you give to someone to kind of maybe open up a bit more, or just kind of express themselves and how they're feeling?
I think it is about kind of finding different methods of how to talk about how you're feeling. Like for me at that time, like talking wasn't the best way for me to express myself, but I liked writing and I liked music and I liked all of these other things that essentially would allow me to express the way that I was feeling. So I think before like we even open up to other people, I think it's really important for us to like build that language in ourselves. So when we do open up to other people, it makes sense. And we're like very specific with like what we need. And it's coming from a place of, I'm telling you this for my personal benefit, because this is how it's going to kind of help our situation, our relationship, our friendship, etc., etc. And it's not kind of coming from a place of fear. And so I think finding like that way of like how to articulate how we're feeling to ourselves, whether that's through journaling or talking to yourself like when you're by yourself, or talking to other people, if that is the way that you kind of get things out on out into the ether, as long as it's not just in our heads and it's just out some way, then you can kind of like start to see patterns or different things and piece those together. So by the time you do kind of finally go and talk to someone, you can just be very specific and very straightforward in saying, this is how I'm feeling, this is the help that I need, this is how I'm feeling and I don't know what I need, can you help me with that?
That's amazing. And I like how you said being creative and finding something that suits you and suits your needs. So whether that be music, writing a song, or journaling, or anything that is helpful for you, because everyone's different in how they want to express themselves.
Definitely.
And so finding that language, I like how you said language, finding that language for you and understanding it for yourself, and then being able to articulate it to someone else for them to understand. Because I feel that with mental health, whether it be a difficulty or an illness, sometimes people don't understand it for themselves. And so when they want to seek help, they don't know maybe where to go, who to go to, and what to say, because they don't even understand it. So it's just all about, like you said, understanding the language for yourself in whatever creative way you can, and then being able to articulate that language to someone else. That's amazing. I love that. I really, really love that. Okay, so how do you take care of your mental well-being now? So what are some of the things that you do that makes you feel mentally stable or makes you feel happy and in taking care of your mental health?
Where I kind of try to be really intentional with my surroundings. I don't always have control over that. Like, there are things that I can't control. So I think I started to focus more on like the things that I can control, because I think a lot of my kind of anxiety and depression was definitely from kind of outward things coming in, and I couldn't control these outward things. Like, they were just there and they were affecting me. So now I try and kind of focus on like the inward things that I can sort of have some sort of hand over. So whether that is like being open and honest with people and saying, calling work and saying I can't come in today because I feel like this. Being more open with like the people around me, with my friends, just so even in situations where I'm like going out or I need to go to like a function or I'm meeting new people, like my friends kind of understand me, and they understand like where I'm feeling uncomfortable or anxious in the space. They kind of know that if I'm going somewhere with them, they need to introduce me to people, because otherwise I will find a corner and I will stay there. Like, they understand the way that I operate and kind of how they can help me in other spaces as well. And I understand that about them. So I think that having people like, they just don't know what they don't know. So I think
having that understanding and allowing people to understand you. And giving them that time and that kind of knowledge about you. So like you said, you know, if I come out and I'm in a big setting or whatever setting that may be, you know, what would help me feel comfortable is introducing me. Otherwise, sometimes, I don't know if it will make you feel uncomfortable, but just making them aware of the little things that may trigger anxiety or any type of emotion.
Definitely.
So that's amazing. And I get from that, your friends having a great understanding of you inside and outside.
Definitely.
So the things that make you happy and the things that make you sad and the things that make you anxious and the things that could make you low, depressed. So that's amazing. You have a good group of friends.
Yeah, my friends are great.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So Tobi, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Bobimono, so BOBIMONO. There's an underscore on my Instagram.
I'll leave all the details in the description,
all of that,
so you can get Wow, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're very inspiring, and I had a great conversation with you. Keep doing what you're doing. You are inspiring many people, and you will continue to inspire many people. Continue to take care of your mental health, and by doing things that make you feel happy and make you feel comfortable. And shout out to your friends for knowing you and appreciating you and accepting you for who you are. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, amazing. That was amazing.